How can my muse want subject to invent, while thou dost breathe? That pour'st into my verse thine own sweet argument, too excellent for every vulgar paper to rehearse. Oh, give thyself the thanks. If aught in me worthy perusal stand against thy sight, for who's so dumb that cannot write to thee, when thou thyself dost give invention light? Be thou the 10th muse, 10 times more in worth than those old 9, which rhymers invocate. And he that calls on thee, let him bring forth eternal numbers to outlive long date. If my slight muse do please these curious days, the pain be mine, and thine shall be the praise. That was sonnet number 38. Yeah, this was a fun one. This was an interesting one. It, again, kind of a unique tone that I don't remember him. This is a rebuttal. It reads as if he's responding to a critic. And I like what he's saying. I like the points that he's making about he's kind of taking shots at classical poetry. He off the bat establishes my muse as like you're talking shit about my inspiration. My inspiration, and anybody could use it. My inspiration is so wonderful. Any idiot could write amazing, half decent poetry about this thing because of how wonderful it is. And I like that, and it got me thinking about because he makes reference to the 9 classical muses, which are kind of like deities in the sense that like the muse of this, the muse of that, that you invoke when you're writing a certain kind of poetry. You're writing a poetry about war or love, you invite this guy versus that. I don't know the muses off the top of my head, but the fact that he's talking about this personal muse is much more relatable to me as a modern reader of Shakespeare. But I think also just philosophically speaking, I think there's really something to be said for finding worthiness and significance and meaning in something that you decide and that you identify with personally, as opposed to something that's imposed by tradition or, it got me thinking about religion, but religion is just one example of like a tradition-based moral code or a tradition-based way to live your life. And so in the same, I think that in the context of poetry, I think it got me thinking about like, how do you live your life? Do you follow someone else's moral code, or do you define your own and base it on what's meaningful and important to you, or find inspiration in something that's close and that you have assigned worth because you think it's important, which that was super relatable to me, because that's right in my philosophical wheelhouse. So that was, this one was interesting and thought-provoking, but kind of, there's a lot, 38 into the sonnets, there's a lot that are to the fair youth, or, kind of singing the praises of the fair youth. And this one's saying like, well, let me put this in perspective for you. This is my inspiration for my poetry. And like, if anyone wants to write about this guy, immortalize it. Like, it should live forever because it stands as if it's poetry written about this wonderful thing, it's got to be good. So that, I found that really interesting. That this is a much more, this thematically to me, or rather, maybe I should say, reading it, I felt I was being spoken to by Shakespeare at like a conversational level, as opposed to like kind of some of the more flowery language that he uses in the more extravagant metaphors and things like that, which can be objectively beautiful, but maybe don't hit home on like a personal level in the way that this one did. So this was an interesting one. I can't remember one striking this kind of a chord with me. So so that was Sonnet 38, and I'll be back for 39 next week. Thanks for watching.